What up, guys? This is Richard here, and I'm here to talk to you about the Marvel Cinematic Universe in this new set of videos that I'm going to be entitling Richard's Marvel Movie Talk. Now, I know a lot of you have been hyped up for Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to tell you right now, Guardians of the Galaxy was amazing. It was probably the best Marvel movie I have ever seen. I am begging you to go see this movie. It is visually and it is just visually spectacular. The cast is amazing. It's the best ensemble Marvel cast that they have come up with since Avengers. And yes, I'm going to go on the limb here and commit sacrilege and say, in my mind, it is better than Avengers. That being said, Avengers Age of Ultron will probably trump everything else. That includes Guardians. But as of right now, Guardians is probably the best Marvel movie they've ever made. Now, to start off this segment, I'm going to talk about two things. One, the future for the Guardians, including Thanos and his role in the Avengers universe. And two, my view on how Ant-Man is going to tie into the future for Phase 3. Since I'm only going to talk about it for a little bit, I'm going to just go ahead and talk about Ant-Man right now. I know there's been a lot of controversy when it comes to the writer and the director for Ant-Man. Originally, Edgar Wright, as some of you may know, was originally the director and the writer for the film. Marvel's Kevin Feige, who is the president of Marvel, actually fired him a long while back. This is news at this point. This has been going on for months. They fired him off of the reason that he was not sticking to how Marvel wanted to evolve the story. They originally did have a script lined out. They had the cast. They had everything. And Edgar Wright was on board for directing. Now, this was before Avengers came out. Once Avengers finally hit theaters and they started Phase 2, Kevin Feige, as the president of Marvel, told Edgar Wright he wanted to change his view. He wanted to rewrite the story. Edgar Wright was not on board with this. He wanted to keep it as it was. He thought it was perfect the way it was. This happens in cinemas, in studios all the time. Writers versus studio conflict. And that conflict kept going on. He didn't want to change his view, so they fired him for it. They got a new writer, I believe. I'm not entirely sure about that. And they're going back on board for it. Now, in my mind, Ant-Man is in a little bit of trouble because they're kind of stretching the bar for getting closer, as it gets closer and closer to when they actually wanted to release that film, and how much delayed they've been when it comes to finding a director and a writer that they can agree with. And in my mind, initially, Ant-Man's not going to be, it wasn't going to be the best Marvel movie in my mind anyway. I just think it's going to be, it was an idea to bring Scott Lang in to throw in that scientific portion from Hank Pym and all that. Now, in my mind, Ant-Man may or may not be the first Marvel flop. But the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ranked in so much money, and they have made so many amazing films. They can afford this flop, should it be one. It might be okay, it might be great for all we know. But if Ant-Man does do terrible in reviews and terrible in box office, worst case scenario, Marvel could lose money on it. But that doesn't mean that people are going to stop watching their movies. One bad movie does not make for a bad studio. Because if you see Ant-Man when they finally do release it, and it turns out to be bad, think to yourself, are you going to stop seeing Marvel movies after that? Do you think because they did one bad movie that the rest of their franchise is going to be terrible? No. Marvel is like Nintendo in my mind. And I will express that by saying this. Nintendo has enough money, they can go bankrupt for the next 20 years and still be afloat. They can lose money for 20 years and stay where they are as an enterprise. As a success. Marvel's the same way. They could make 1, 2, maybe even 3 flops when it comes to movies. And they could still be on top when it comes to a franchise. That is my view when it comes to the Ant-Man. That movie, doesn't matter how good or bad it'll be. Because Marvel will keep going on and making better and better movies. All the way up to Avengers 3. And anything else after that. Which brings me to my point of Guardians of the Galaxy. If you have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy, and you don't know this already, it's news. Thanos is in the movie. He's in it for a brief few scenes. He's not the primary villain. The primary villain is Ronan the Accuser. And I do apologize if that is a spoiler at all, but I mean, go on IMDb. He's credited, Josh Brolin is credited as Thanos in the movie. It's not like it's a big secret. They have been introducing more and more Infinity Stones in this franchise. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy has finally made that they have introduced 3. The sequel for Guardians has already been confirmed for Marvel for Phase 3 before Avengers 3 comes out. This has also confirmed that Marvel is saying that they are going to bring in Nova and Adam Warlock. In just the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy, just the sequel, you could bring in the 4th, maybe even 5th Infinity Stone. And I say that you can bring in 2 because you could bring in 1 off of the story itself, and 2 for Adam Warlock, because Adam Warlock, as a character, he has an Infinity Stone in his head. That's why he has all his powers. Now, I want to specifically talk about the future for Thanos. Thanos has been talked about a lot around the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever since Avengers came out, and he had that end scene cameo. A lot of people expected him to be the bad guy for Avengers 2. And if you don't know now, you're living under a rock. He's not the bad guy. The bad guy for Avengers 2 is Ultron. I'm excited for that. I don't know about you, but I am excited. I think that is going to be brilliant. Here's my thought when it comes to Guardians sequels and Avengers. They need a way to tie both these universes in. Because you have the Guardians, who are on one side of the galaxy, and the Avengers on the other. You need for them to come together just to fight Thanos, in my mind. There's a couple ways they can go about this. They can do it as paradoxes, things like that, the most complex way they can go about it. And that's how Marvel can do it. But if they want to keep it simple, and they want to keep it true to how the stories have already gone, what the material they have now. With Guardians, if you don't know, Ronan the Accuser, the primary villain for Guardians of the Galaxy, is a Kree Emperor. And if you know anything about Marvel, one of the major story arcs is the Kree-Skrull War, which I believe they are actually going to lead up to in the next Guardians movie. Because, and I'm going to say right now, this is going to contain some minor spoilers for the movie if you haven't seen it yet. So if you don't want to hear this, stop watching the video right now. Or fast forward for 30-40 seconds. In the movie, when on Xandar, the Nova Corps contacts the Kree homeworld, telling them that Ronan is single-handedly on a manhunt to destroy their world. The Kree Empire does not do anything about it. They have their own problems going on there. In my mind, that is actually an Easter egg hinting that the next movie could include the Kree-Skrull War storyline. And that's for the Guardians sequel, specifically, to tell you. Which would actually be very interesting, because after that, that is another way you could actually have 2 Infinity Stones. Now, Doctor Strange is probably the next movie that I can tell you that Marvel's also confirmed that will have the next Infinity Stone after that. Short of the fact they need another movie to do it before Avengers 3, you'll have all 6. You will have the Infinity Gauntlet after that. And that is where I believe Thanos will come in, is Avengers 3. He will be the end game for the trilogy of Avengers, the first set of trilogy. I believe that is how the Guardians of the Galaxy will tie in with the Avengers, is the third one. After the Kree-Skrull War, Thanos will finally have all his Infinity Stones to try and conquer the universe. And that is the end game for Marvel. You have all these stories finally pile up into one ultimate film. Those are my thoughts. Especially with the material they have now, it makes the most sense in my mind. And I think this is also something that Marvel has talked about as well. And for those of you who don't know, Avengers 3 is not the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel has confirmed they have movies planned out till the year 2028. I will be seeing Marvel movies till I am 40. Now, keep one thing in mind. What do they do after Thanos? They can go anywhere. You don't have to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger on the villains. You just don't. They can do something like Planet Hulk or things like that. You could do the Marvel Civil War. The sky's the limit when it comes to Marvel. Those are my thoughts, guys. I would hope that you can leave your comments in the comment bar, and thank you for watching.